Hey everybody, it's Travis Weller, and thanks again for joining me for the 2 Minute Clinic. This is an extended version, and it is specifically for the Liberty High School Band in Youngstown, Ohio, and their director, Mr. Michael Summers. It's really awesome to have the opportunity to write music for colleagues, and I'm so appreciative of Liberty High School's Band Boosters for supporting this project and for Michael for giving me the opportunity. As we talked through some ideas about what this piece could be about and what it could eventually grow to be, the one thing and the idea that I kept coming back to was an idea of resilience. Having grown up in Western PA, there's plenty I know about Eastern Ohio, and there's some things that have certainly been shared. But looking specifically at around Youngstown, this is a community that understands the fragility of life. And certainly looking back through the history, even back to the early 80s, a series of deadly tornadoes that came through that region. It's a community that knows hardship. I think about the steel industry that left Western PA and Eastern Ohio over the past 40 years. There's a director there, Michael Summers, who understands the long game. He understands the ups and downs of populations. He understands the ebb and flow of funding for the arts, the change that we've seen in society where people really want to seek instant satisfaction and maybe don't invest in long term growth. It's encouraging me when I see leaders, resilient leaders, community members, and educators like Mike who continue each and every day to work for what is right and to work for what is best. Heart really aches for the students who, because of the circumstances that we are in, cannot be with their friends and their peers in band to deliver a final concert this spring. When we consider the amount of time music ensembles put into just getting a single piece of music ready for performance, you realize just how special an entire concert that's presented by musicians at any level and any kind of ensemble is. It's especially disappointing if this is a final concert for a senior, perhaps a trip that has been rescheduled or postponed, or even a graduation ceremony that's completely up in the air. The virus has really made all of us step back, and it's made us adjust our daily routine, and in some cases put a lot of anxiety into some of us who are the most confident. For those of us in music, especially band, it separates students from people that they call brother and people they call sister, and they have no blood relation with that person. For some students, it separates them from their teacher, from their director, and in some cases where they go from a different math teacher year to year, a different English teacher, in some cases these students have known band directors 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. The cancellations, I get it. The postponements, even the distancing, I get the safety that ensures, and it makes it necessary. But I will remind all of you who are experiencing not having a concert, not having a trip, not having your graduation ceremony, or you're not sure if you're going to have it. There is destiny in disappointment. So here we are. We all had plans. Plans for our lives, plans for birthdays. Liberty High School and we had plans for a debut. But the world got punched in the face. And as Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. So we find ourselves here now. Every man, every woman, every child, picking yourselves up off the ground. Spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally. Because that's the option. Failure's not final in my book. And if there's an option to continue and move down a path in front of you, and it's the only option, then, to quote Jon Favreau, this is the way. The path before us And you have to embrace it. You have to embrace the process that it's going to take to go down that path. And even though it's new, you embrace the work. You understand that path might require you to aspire to a better version of yourself for those that we love, for those that we respect, for those that we come in contact with. Adversity in any form, at any point of our lives, can be absolutely debilitating. In the midst of us at our worst, it's difficult to imagine what our lives are going to look like on the other side. Yet, there are a lot of us that have learned to carry on, to rise above, and never be defined by circumstances. And the reality is, those people have a really strong hold on what resilience is. For some, it's personal faith. For others, it's the support of family, the relationship to friends. That provides the necessary fuel for resilience. What you need to have to rise above adverse circumstances. It's amazing when groups of people are able to come together. They're able to work towards a common goal, a common good, and make a change in a community, in society, for the better. That's what I had in mind when I put paper, literally, and pencil together at a piano in my office. That whole idea of resilience, not knowing that we would be in a day and age and in a time right now where our resilience, the humankind resilience, is at a premium. Measure 1 contains the most important motive of the entire work, and you can see it here in the first trumpet part. The rising major second represents us all taking the first step forward in good and difficult times. The first step doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be grandiose. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It needs only to be one step. Like a major or a minor scale, without the first step, the scale never gets started. And that's what I wanted to capture in that motive. The section at measure 17 begins a series of two-measure fanfares that are led by the brass. They represent our most ardent supporters, the people that we share our journey with, the people that don't quit on us, that don't let us get down, and they essentially give us a consistent "you got this" minutes before we walk into that interview, minutes before we go into a doctor's appointment. They're the person sending the text message and the well wishes. Bands are full of those kind of people. It is pure community in that band members give to each other, support each other, and they want the best for each other. The irony here is not lost on me that it is the trumpets at measure 17 that lead this fanfare. Trumpets take it on the chin. They're often given a hard time for being too loud or being overpowering other people in the band. But if there was one group that was well suited to bring about a "you got this" moment for the band, it would definitely be our trumpet section. The adversity, or the tension, arrives in various ways harmonically throughout the work, as we can see here in measures 31 through 36. The tension we experience in life, in the harmony during certain sections of this piece, almost makes us lose sense of where we are on our journey, and it robs us of our ability to imagine getting through our current situation. But I am reminded that not all tension is bad. Given enough time and enough resolution, we can often make sense of the adversity we have faced. We can recognize that the adversity taught us something about ourselves we didn't know, or perhaps challenged us to grow in a way that we didn't think was possible. I wish I could tell you that I wrote every piece of music the same way and that I followed a predictable pattern, but the reality is I really struggle with that. And the thing that was odd about creating resilience for me was that I started with the middle section of the work. And this is the genesis of the entire piece, because I started with a feeling of what's next and where do I go from here. And keep in mind that this feeling for me is never one out of desolation or desperation. For me, it always grows out of optimism. As the texture within this section grows more hopeful, we can hear underpinnings of tension that remind us to be on guard. That way back, the path forward, just taking that first step requires that we gather ourselves and find a way over, around, or even sometimes through that boulder that blocks on our path. At measure 84, that's the pivotal point for me, because here it's we've learned to embrace the tension, to learn our lessons, and to move forward with confidence. By measure 101, the ensemble is back in a groove and at a tempo that opens the work. It's moving forward. But yet, measure 127, there's an ostinato that breaks in, and it's a slight derivative of those brass fanfares that we heard earlier. And it's simply in there as a reminder that don't get too comfortable. Don't take something for granted as you are moving forward. We have to trust our skills. We have to remember to say thank you to those people so that we don't lose their support, the people that have been making that journey with us. And we need to press on in spite of perceived obstacles. The ensemble arrival at measure 157 is set up by the building tension and upper woodwind movement that begins here at measure 147. The absence of percussion is a sonic reminder on several levels. First of all, everyone in the ensemble must keep time to move forward. It's not the percussion's job, it's everybody's job. And as conductors, we just coordinate it. The second reminder is in turn in life, we do have to learn to trust our internal motor to keep moving forward as well. As the piece draws to its conclusion from 175 through the end, we get one final burst of tension underlying some held notes. And even over those last four measures, as we pull back more, we're reminded that one of the powerful things about working in the arts and creating in the arts is that we have moments to savor. And in this moment, we can savor accomplishment and we can enjoy what we have done and take pride in our accomplishment. The current crisis that we find ourselves in as a society reminds us that sometimes we just don't have any control over the adversity that is going to meet us. And moving forward, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. The only thing that we have control over is how we can respond to it. And before we choose to respond, it requires resilience to understand, to maybe foresee how we can grow, how we're supposed to learn something through maybe terrible circumstances, and where that path is going to lead us in the future. My thanks to Liberty High School, to the Liberty High School Band Boosters for their support of this project, to Mr. Michael Summers, who initiated this whole project, and to the students of the Liberty High School Band. I hope that when the piece has its debut, that all of you remember how well your personal resilience has served you during this time and how it has given inspiration to others. Life, love, music. This is Travis Weller with the extended 2-Minute Clinic, and I'll see you next time.